Myself, I guess I've got commutes and all that kind of thing, like with my job and things I got to do. So my music time, I just gravitate toward things that inform me, you know, and whether it might be an attitude or a guitar sound, or typically those two things, the attitude and the guitar sound. And that's where, you know, the female stuff like PJ Harvey, Maggot Heart, Bad Waitress, Mannequin Pussy. I don't think Mannequin Pussy are on the playlist, but there's all this stuff. This is a really old one. Babes in Toyland. They've got, oh man, they have a song called Bruised Violet that's just freaking off the charts. The energy and attitude, like those things for me. Sonic Youth's another one. Like there's an energy and an attitude rather than a specific sound. That's informing me when I'm writing and coming up with stuff. So it's not like I want to write a riff that sounds like this, because they don't sound like those. Or I want to make this guitar sound because that's what I want to do. No, it's very much being informed. The exception to that, and I missed the mark by a mile, so that made it perfect, was the Hierophant and the Hangman, which is a very different song to the rest of them on the album. The guitar sound on that, I've been listening to a lot of Suede, an English band, and their original guitarist Bernard Butler is like a bit of a genius, and he's had this amazing phased, like it's just this lush kind of almost psychedelic thing going on. So I made constructed this amazing sound, and just ran with it. Like it was probably inappropriate, but it ended up being, that's the song. But that would be the exception where I was like, oh, I really want to make a Bernard Butler style guitar sound. Like I really want to do this.
And it really worked out like above like my expectations of what I thought it was going to sound like, you know. Well, that's not what I had in mind, but that's actually way better.
Well, the start of it's effectively a simplified version of the chords. So it's I think it's they're all, I don't know, the language, my theory is pretty terrible, but they've all got the thirds taken out pretty much. So it's just like, you know, like it's all kind of, you don't quite know. They're not male or female. They're not minor or major. They're not sad or happy. It just leaves it for your vocal to tell the story. But it's effectively just the chords that you sent me. But it's like I just sent back this like space opera that you could sing over the start of. Like
that's a good way to put it. It's like a space opera. It's almost like it's almost like fucking with the fucking spiders from Mars or something. It's like, you know.
I was gonna say Flash Gordon, but I'm more self-deprecating than you.
Yeah, it's
I wanted it to sound like Ming the Merciless. No, correction. I didn't want it to sound like Ming the Merciless. I wanted it to have the aesthetic of Ming's daughter.
There you go.
Go see Flash Gordon. Hey man, I saw that when I was a little kid. You know, there are, you know, little awakenings for little kids in the 80s or whatever it was. You know, Ming the Merciless's daughter, Princess Leia. I know this is all you know, kind of crosses the line 40 to 30 odd years later or whatever. But those you cannot have been a boy growing up in that time and seen that stuff and it not affected you. It's, you know, it's biology, like.
Right, because it's like you pull that piece of your brain out. And I remember seeing they used to have on I think it was Channel 2. They had, because we only had 4 channels here back then. It was like on Channel 2 they had Buck Rogers, and it was the same thing. It was,
there's a scene in a Buck Rogers episode where he is with the female character. They're both in this like kind of prison, but the prison's got like a lava floor, which is making really sweaty. So you've got this like this you know, the scantily clad male and female leads like all sweaty in this prison for absolutely no reason. Like it's just, let's make it look like this because the kids at home will love it.
Yeah. That was a weird time for television. Not because I remember Channel 2, they would have like all this weird shows like Buck Rogers and stuff like that, and they would have Fawlty Towers and then the Young Ones and something like that after. Yeah.
Doctor Who ever get a run?
Yeah, it was like that. And then they would have a commercial for, I remember this. It was a commercial for Mitchum deodorant, right? So this guy, he would put on Mitchum deodorant.
When you're stuck in the hot prison cell, be your best.
No, yeah.
Hey.
So I'll never forget this. He was putting on Mitchum deodorant. He was going out in the field to pick apples. And because it smelled so good, he was like essentially being stalked and raped by a pack of women because he smelled so good. He had to run away from them.
Oh, yeah. Man, this is the interesting thing. People love to cherry pick. How pun not intended, but people used to cherry pick. People still cherry pick like the bad stuff from back in that time. And we're walking a borderline misogynist line, even having this conversation. I'm well aware of that. But I assure you, people, that's not us. But you don't need to cherry pick. The whole different time, whole different aesthetic, whole different thing going on. And I think it speaks to the credit of anyone as old as us who's managed to be introspective and break it down and think, parts of me were constructed very poorly because of those experiences. Like
the Mitchum commercial where the guy got like gang raped by a pack of women because he was picking apples wearing Mitchum deodorant.
Maybe that was the thing about the guy choosing the manner of his own death in Monty Python's The Meaning of Life. Maybe he just sprayed himself with some Mitchum deodorant and then was like, had to run away from the bikini-clad women in like NFL helmets or whatever.